But being social, it was like a really big problem for me. I had like no friends. I went to a small school where I was teased mercilessly. Everyone hated me, and it all stemmed from me being weird. That weirdness I now attribute to me being bipolar, but me being weird, um, like led to me being teased, which led to me being socially inept, depressed, and angry, which would just make my social situations worse, and I would get teased worse, and the cycle would just continue. So, like, I had some major issues, especially in middle school. A lot of that can be attributed to me just becoming a teenager, but some of it was not normal. Like, I remember every day at recess, like, my social situation was so bad that I literally wouldn't hang around, like, anyone. Um, like, yeah, so I would just stand off to the side in, like, the huge schoolyard we would have. Like, I would stand by, like, the gate, like, yards away from any other kids that were playing. Like, I wasn't even making an attempt. And, like, I remember even back then having weird sensations, like the sensation of being outside my own body and floating above myself. And, I don't know, like, being, like, a little detached from reality, like, not, like, psychotic, but detached. So anyway, like I said, I had a lot of issues with these, kids at my school who, because I was weird, were teasing me mercilessly. I was very fortunate that I had developed a skill for writing, and I was able to go to a creative and performing arts high school to pursue that. And I guess because everyone there is like an artist, a lot of people were able to like see people more deeply than my prior school. So things were pretty alright, and I started to gain friendships and gain some popularity among my own classmates because of my writing ability. And yeah, I mean, things at home weren't particularly great, like, not like terrible, but I mean, we were poor, so we had issues with food, keeping utilities on. Um, my father left when I was like 8 years old. That was like a whole ordeal. My mother's boyfriend, who kind of became like a stepfather to me, had very powerful alcohol and drug addictions. So, like, it's not like anyone was beating me or anything like that, but I mean, things weren't like spectacular. Later in life, I found out that me, my mother, my sister, and my mom's boyfriend are all bipolar, so we were all living in the same household with this condition and just acting on having this condition without knowing that we had it or like really what it was. Sorry for the sudden change in camera quality. My cell phone overheated. Uh, I'm actually re recording this one little segment because there was a bug crawling in the background over here by my sink and it was really like freaking me out. But anyway, um, so I loved the school that I transferred into. I was doing like a lot better because my environment was a lot better. The environment of that particular school was so positive that I think it mitigated my issues for a long time, even though I did sort of drift in and out of depression. Um, but it wasn't that cycle where like social problems were causing me to become anxious and depressed, which was causing me more social problems and so forth and so on. That that bit at least stopped. But But by the time I became a junior, I have fallen into like a deep depression, seemingly like out of nowhere. You know, I was almost like so used to like not being happy. I didn't think that it was possible for me to feel like that sad. But I started having suicidal ideations out of nowhere, and started exhibiting like unnecessarily risky behavior. Nothing too bad at that point, but just like riskier than like what I like normally did. Like that's around when I started smoking weed, which I always like was like, no, I'll never smoke weed, and all sorts of stuff I probably can't remember now. Um, but I just really fell into this funk every time I would get into the bathtub. Like I switched from showers to baths, and as the water in the tub was filling up, I started having fixations about like drowning myself in the tub. That became like a constant like thing for some reason, and there wasn't really anything to make me that depressed. So like I knew like something was up. So at the time, my family didn't really believe in therapy. Um, they kind of thought that like mental illness was like this made up problem that like white people made up or whatever. And for a little bit, I was viewed as just like not being strong and tough. But in spite of that, I still had a good enough mind to take myself to therapy. And they diagnosed me with depression. They put me on Lexapro. Um, and but the medicine wasn't like helping me. And now I know it probably was making things worse because you're not supposed to give just antidepressants to a bipolar person. Um, and I mean that's from like junior year until like I was 25 is when things started to escalate and get out of control. This is the fun part of the story.